everyone, Sybil Kuhn here. I'm going to show you how to make a wreath today by just building off of your basic supplies. Here's your handmade hoop. Here's your gauge wire. It can be 20, 22, 24, 26 gauge, depends on how thick and how tight you pull the wreath and the hoop. And I also went ahead and trimmed some boughs to get started, so let's begin. All right, so here we have our hoop. And I usually find a starting point for me. My dad and I usually build these hoops, so I usually go off of where it's been welded, and you can start anywhere, but I usually wrap the wire a little bit around the hoop just to give you a starting and ending point, and just to make it nice and secure. So you have that right there. Okay, so here we are. And we're gonna just lay a few pieces, and the noble I use as the base. So you're just gonna lay a few pieces down, and I love variety in my wreaths. I love it with a wreath. So I'm gonna add a few different items into the wreath. It's gonna be noble, and I don't know if you can see this or not, but this cedar is just gorgeous. Look at the pine cones, the little baby pine cones in here. So that into the wreath. And wreath building is it's just sticking with a pattern. So I usually like to stick with the pattern to make it look a little bit more uniform. Not everybody sticks with the pattern, but you're more than welcome to branch out, so to speak, and make it your own. I just like mine nice and full, and I like to stick with the pattern so I know what the consistency is going to be start to the finish. So here we have our beginning piece right here, and I am working clockwise, and so the video is going to show backwards, but it's going to be my right hand holding the wire and my left hand holding the boughs, and I'm going to place it right on top of the wire, and then we're going to wrap it just a couple of times, and every time I wrap it, I'm going to pull it tight. Not just a little tight, but actually really secure. And every time I wrap, I'm going to pull it nice and secure so that when I'm done with each wrap, those boughs are not going to fall, and they're going to stay in place for the next coming weeks. And all right, so as we continue on our portion here, and of course this wire is green, so it just blends in with all the greenery. But I've used wire before that's silver and red. Whatever you can get at your local store is just fine. You know, however big the pieces are, or how little they are, it's up to you. You can use a big piece that makes it nice and full, or you can kind of trim it down a little bit, and then it gets to be a little bit more manageable in your hand. You can't see that, but it's actually blended right in there. And then we're gonna be right on top. And then remember I said I personally always wrap my wreaths 3 times every time I'm wrapping the boughs. So there's 1, and I'm pulling it tight. And then 2, again, I'm pulling it really tight, so it's not gonna go anywhere. And then that final wrap, and there you have it. So again, it's not, so I wanted to show, this will happen from time to time. So I broke my wire, and that's okay, because if you're making your wreath nice and strong and sturdy, and maybe your gauge isn't, you know, 16 or 18, maybe your gauge is a little bit thinner, like a 22 or 24, you will have a chance to break your wire. In fact, I almost encourage it, because that means you're pulling enough, you're making it strong enough and tight enough so that your boughs aren't going to fall. So what I did was, and this is hard to see, but I went ahead and I just twisted the two together. Super simple fix, not an issue at all. You just make sure that your wires are twisted on both sides, almost like making a double knot tie or something. So I went ahead and I was pulling, it broke, so I stop, I fix it, and we go back to work. Okay, so we are at the end, and here we are. So it looks like we're complete, right? But we are not. We have basically gone a full circle, and we're almost at the exact beginning of where we started, and that's how we end. So we have this little piece kind of just right in here. You can actually end it where it's at right here, but I like to finish it off and just make sure the whole thing is nice and filled in and full, and I know my checkpoint is ending where I began. So we're gonna go from there. This is the end result, and as you can see, I'm holding it up here and none of the pieces are hanging or drooping down or falling out. And that's really your best wreath, is the one that's solid from start to finish, that it's not gonna be, you'll be able to hang it or even place it somewhere and enjoy it for the next few months.